everybody. It feels like it's been a little bit, but it's episode 176. Hey, Josh, we have Josh here. He went from being a fitter in the field to an owner. So again, like another crazy story, and we're so blessed to have him with us tonight. We had to push the website out one more month, July. It's gonna be the final month, and but we're very excited. So July, first Monday of July of launch, we'll have someone, watching over the website. We'll have someone making sure it's updated, keeping up with emails. So we're starting to kind of progress to our next chapter, and then hopefully we'll be able to affect the industry better and kind of start steering more people into the right direction that they want to go with their careers, and as well as being part of this community. So that's the whole end goal of Dope and Tape. So very excited, and we couldn't have done it without you guys, like at all, zero. So thank you so much for everybody's support, coming to hang out with us on a weekday at 9 o'clock on. I mean,
Tuesday night.
that's crazy to me. Tuesday night, yeah, come hang out.
Dopeandtape.com.
I
Pretty cool.
know that um, y'all drive your significant others crazy, because I know my wife is like, "You got another show tonight?" I was like, "Yeah, deal with it."
Yep. It's industry shit. Everybody, thank you for joining. Welcome.
Yeah, this is what I
Florencio,
do.
good to see you. Sorry for the few minute delay and then the voice mod thing. And my soundboard had an update and it's all new. And then I couldn't find the sound. I couldn't find how to shut the sound off, but we got it. We're here. We got Josh Fender with us. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for, as you come in, please hit the like button. Leave a comment. Say something. It really helps push it on YouTube. We just hit 1,500 subscribers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but on YouTube it's a big number. We're really excited about that. Now we're gonna push to 2,000. Dope and Tape. Let's elevate. Let's go, Florencio. Florencio's got a new like symbol or something. Is it a fire? Florencio's got a little fire symbol. I love it. We'll give people a little minute to filter in here. Florencio, you don't mind give me a little feedback, how we look, how we sound. Let's see. Boom. All right. When was the last time we went live? 2 Thursdays ago, right?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks.
Oh, we just had a subscriber an hour ago. That's pretty cool.
I mean, just flying. I was last Thursday. I found out that I had to be back here in Atlanta on Friday, and I was planning on coming home on Friday, so I had to get a late night flight back home, and it was the craziest flight. It was the only flight that I've ever been like kind of sketched out on, because I get there, the people come off the plane, and then we were supposed to start boarding, but then the plane lost power, like all the power gone. So I'm like, well, it looks like I'm staying here another night. And then they're like, "Don't worry, just bear with us. We're gonna fix it." So
that's always sketchy,
they
right?
fix it after, about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. I get on the plane, and then power's gone again, just gone.
Dude, that's scary.
And they're acting like it's normal. Yeah. So it came back on. They're like, "All right, we're ready to go." Like power is an important thing. I would take an engine fire over us losing power.
I don't want. I'd have none of that.
None of that
would be great. None of that would be great. Anytime we land down near Texas or when I was landing in El Paso, it's bumpy, dude. It's so bumpy when you land. Why is it like that?
Where did I see that it was bumpy?
Colorado. When we landed in Colorado super bumpy.
Bogota, Colombia. So Bogota, Colombia, you come over the Andes, and then you're coming down pretty quick. And I guess the air that's coming over the Andes, it messes the plane up. So it's always a bit bumpy. So when I took my kids over there, I was like, "Listen, when we get to, it's about 30 minutes, I get a little wild. All right, I'll be okay, but it's be totally normal."
All right, let's talk
What
about
Josh.
You,
Josh, do you fly often, or you stay at the office?
It's mostly drive around. I drive a lot, but I fly some, but mostly drive.
Well, that's good. Is it
Yeah.
fairly close? All your
Over
trips?
in
Huh?
All your trips fairly close? You got to drive far from Oregon, or?
I've done a lot that's about, I mean, within a 4 hour, like 4 hours. I used to do travel all around the state a lot more, but I've done a lot where, like Bend is 4 hours away, and so I've done a lot almost every week. I used to do almost every week where I'd go to Bend for half the week.
Oh,
So
nice. I
yeah,
like being within
not real
driving
yeah.
easy flight.
distance.
Oh, glad you're out of that.
Yeah,
You still get into the field some, or you mainly doing the office stuff now?
no, I'm doing both for now.
Okay.
So yeah, I do. Yeah,
It's good when
Save
the,
on that
part-time.
labor.
it's good when the office shows up to the job site, especially the owner. Becky was out on site today.
Yeah.
Yep. She came. We had to do a trailer swap and go clean out another job, so she stopped by. She stopped by our job site. It's cool. It's cool seeing the owner on
She
site.
drove up just for you?
No, not just for me, for a bunch of us. We leased a house at near one of the jobs, and the job's over, so we gotta clean out all our furniture and shit.
No
And
air. Is that better than Airbnbs? Is that what y'all doing now?
um,
Leasing houses?
sometimes it's better, yeah. It's really whatever is the most cost
For
effective.
longer.
Yeah, and for longer. Airbnbs get really weird when you rent like for long periods of time. They think you're gonna like, because people like can steal the house or whatever, like
Not leave?
squatters, right?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
so they get weary and they want you to like leave for a week, and that just doesn't make sense. So, yo, Paul, what up? Thanks for joining. We got 7 people.
Wow, on a
Appreciate you
Tuesday. Thank you
guys.
guys for coming to hang out with us.
Just hit 1,500 subscribers.
1,500. Can you believe that, Josh? Isn't
No.
that crazy?
Yeah.
1,500 subscribers on a sprinkler podcast. Let's go in 2 years.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Bringing people
That is.
together, and that's just the coolest thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Promote and talk about our
So let's,
industry, and then the stories can live on. The stories don't die on that bucket.
yeah, the reason why we have you on. I mean, with your story is incredible, going from just a fitter and service guy to owning a company and then that transition. And I know I was scared and, you were scared
Yeah.
and it can't be easy, but you did it. So now you get to share your story and insights and advice with everybody else, which normally it's only the people that know you that get the opportunity to sit down and talk to you that gets that
Yeah.
advice. So,
And so we always are having. There's always there's a plethora of fitters that want to talk. Usually the fitters are the characters. They want to get on here and do a lot of talking. But it's harder to find an inspector to come on here. I feel, or someone who does a lot of inspections. And that's a topic
Yeah.
that we talk about all the time. Brian's got a huge inspection background, and I'm the install guy. And
yeah.
both sides, him and I both think that the other side makes more money. And it's like some guys say
Well,
you can't do install if you're not doing service, and some guys say like the service is the backbone of the company, and like so it's good to just have you on. We'll get your opinion. And what's up, Daryl? What's up, big country?
I've always what I've always said with that is it you have more you can make more on contract work as far as if everything goes well, your opportunity to make more like a higher percentage is there, whereas you're also it's more volatile, so you can earn a lot more or you can lose a lot more, where service, if you're doing it right, doesn't make as much per job, but it's steady income. You shouldn't ever lose money unless there's something's
That's a good
something illegal.
perspective. That's a good
Yeah, that
But
would
perspective.
be some
Yeah,
a big problem.
you can lose your shorts on one of these big jobs if you get the wrong guy in charge.
Also, if that service is attached to inspection contracts, a lot of customers don't know that you can shop it. So then
yeah,
they feel stuck to pay whatever you give them.
yeah, yeah. There's
So
that
you
balance.
can, yeah. So
Daryl says, "Please, I'm on here every single
what is
night,
that
and I'm an
letter? You
inspector."
could,
I mean, just on the show, Daryl.
so yeah, because a customer can shop with other companies and the companies can give a letter of, maybe you can help me out with this. It's a letter of,
Intent.
not like completion or, no, it's a letter saying that the work was done and completed of whatever the deficiency was. But I, of course, can't remember the freaking name of the letter. As soon as this show's over, or like in 30 minutes,
You
I'll be like,
remember?
oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's this.
Yeah.
I'll be laying in bed and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got Daryl on here. Daryl will do like
I guess it's
10
a
backflow
letter
10
of
backflows in a
completion,
day.
I think it's called.
Letter of completion. That sounds right.
10 backflips a day? Dude, I used to do 15 every day and then 5 wet risers.
Oh, I don't know. I just pulled 10.
Speed
I just
up,
pulled 10 out.
dog.
Let me tell you, Daryl, how many backflows you doing a day, Daryl? I would be on the show a lot more if Brian would let me back on, but he doesn't want me to be on the show anymore since I kicked his ass. Daryl, I'll get scheduled on the show. We don't have to talk to Brian about it. You could just appear on here, buddy. Hit me up.
Yeah.
I'll tell Brian it's a surprise guest.
And I'll
Daryl,
be like, oh, this guy.
Daryl's our inspector buddy from Canada. he
Now, talking about a commute, he commutes.
he also drives like 4 hours to work
He has a,
through
yeah, he has a wild commute.
through
Was
the
it 2
mountains.
hours there, 2 hours back
I don't know. He was talking about
through the
some
mountains?
of his long drives where he spends most of the day driving. But that's what I mean. Like,
It's
how do
typically
you make money on that when you got to go drive like 4 hours to the backflow? Man, you got to do it
Yeah, the
quick.
backflow,
You better
it's
do it
probably just,
quick.
couple of contractors in Atlanta, they charge about $95 per backflow. So it's not a lot of, money in that, especially with it like a typical burden rate for hourly employee is like 135, 195 for overtime. So it's tough.
Daryl will do
So if you were
yeah.
driving
three to
4
four
hours for that
annuals a
one,
day.
Yeah, you're
yeah,
a lot of the like I've typically said for like backflows, we can do it. If there's a lot of easy ones where we're charging by the hour instead of by the device. Sometimes you can make it can be economical, but we're typically a lot better set up for the confined space. So that's where a lot of the cheaper companies don't have all the confined. They avoid the confined space ones. So when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, it's often where the option is.
Oh, okay.
is as far as confined space goes, is Oregon very regulated on that?
Um, Not necessarily very regulated. I mean, I've I I've done a lot of confined space stuff and actually been a confined space trainer and stuff. But I used to when I started. I've been doing it almost 30 years. And when I started, we were just like, oh, just hold your breath or just go in. And then when I finally got
Let it air out for a second.
and see, and that's one of the things. So when I first got a monitor, I figured out sometimes that's worse. So I've run into both situations. I ran into we had a manhole vault right next to a road, and that was the idea back that it was you know back then, and you'd open it up, let it air out, and then I go in there and it was fine. And then after about 10 or 15 minutes with traffic getting stopped at the light up the road and cars sitting there with their exhaust going down because they're aiming right at that vault. And so then the monitor starts going on.
Hmm.
And I've also had it where, because I typically will use forced air regardless. And that's kind of where they started getting on that, where if you're doing it by yourself, you can do it by yourself as long as you're not opening something up, just testing a backflow, but using forced air and a monitor. But like a lot of times too, if you have your air coming from the wrong direction, or sometimes it's like, oh, I've seen people set up a compressor or a generator to run their forced air, and then but having it sucking the air from the exhaust of the generator,
Down into the
so
hole.
set off the. Yeah.
Oh my god. I've done it.
So I've seen both. I've had some where you open it up, test it, and it goes off, and then you wait 10 minutes and it'll be fine. But then if you close it for 20 minutes while you do something else and come back as soon as you open it up, it goes off again. So I I tend to be more careful just because I've had a ton of vault experience, and I've actually had it go off quite a few times. And so that's when I started realizing, I see people go in without it, and I just wouldn't.
Do you ever
I've
have
just seen
anybody
it too
pass
many.
out down there?
I haven't, but there was a family, um, a couple hours from me, that the whole family that died, like three generations died. It was on a farm,
Shit.
and I think it was Grandpa went in first, and it was some sort of, it was like a pump fault. He goes in, he passes out. So Dad goes in and he passes out. Son tries to rescue them both, and they all three died.
Oh,
So
that's terrible.
Oh,
That is a
jeez.
terrible story.
So I know there was an inspector in South Georgia that I knew that just died in a vault, and it was just a regular vault. And I've done a lot of backflows. I've had the only time I got off, like it went off, was it was a little climb down more than normal,
yeah,
and it was a lack of oxygen.
yeah. We one
Yeah.
time, and this was long ago too. It was me and another guy, and we were fighting this ball. We were trying to get a. It was a 10 or 12 inch OS&Y, and it would not budge. And it looked fine, but something inside was rusted. And we tried spraying it. We tried it. We gave it all kinds of WD-40, different stuff, and he was an old timer. He's like, "Oh, let me grab my torch," and he grabs his torch. And neither of us really thought about it, but then we did have a monitor down there, and after 30 seconds of running that torch down in there, it starts going off because of lack of oxygen. And it was, both of us just kind of looked at each other and was like, "Well, yeah, no kidding. I mean, obviously we're doing it, but you're just so focused on trying to fix the problem that you stop thinking." And
Man, good thing you had that monitor.
Yeah, so we had no rules. And then that guy died down in South Georgia, and I sent out, I was that guy. I sent out a huge email explaining what happened
Buy
and
the equipment. Just buy the
asked
equipment.
him for training. Yeah, I was asked for training. I did that. So, of course, my inspection manager got super pissed off at me. He's like, "Well, now we got to do this. We have backflows to do this week and all that." And I was like, "Listen, I just don't want any of my guys, getting hurt or dying,
It's the
you
right
know,
thing.
and you can't fire me over this anyway. So just
Yeah.
keep keep
You
on going,
gotta
buddy.
buy the air monitor
But
and
we
the
did,
fan,
yeah. So
tripod.
they got the stuff, they got the whole deal. And there was like two or three people on site, one person monitoring, one person recording, one down in the backflow. They started losing money and started just subbing it out. And then about a year later, they just said, screw it. And they went back to no man's land. And then I was telling them, I was like, listen, I'll do backflows without the stuff, but I want to monitor at least. So I'll put the monitor down. I'll drop it down. If it's good, I'll bring it back and I'll clip it on like my thigh of my leg. And I felt okay, but yeah, customer, they start seeing money. It's a business.
yeah,
All right, Florencio's
well,
got a good question here. How do you ensure your
Yeah.
technicians and inspectors are qualified as defined by NFPA 25?
Well, it's supposed to be nice but I believe that you should definitely do internal valuations. So a senior inspector should really be going with a new guy and not saying anything and letting him lead the inspection and just supervising.
yeah, yeah. That qualified wording is, yeah, because yeah, like Oregon doesn't have NICET requirements. Washington does, um, but and I do when work in both. But uh, yeah, like whole qualified thing. But thing is, I've seen companies, hire technicians, and a couple months in, get them NICET, lie on the NICET paperwork, and because you see somebody that was doing something completely different, and they're NICET certified, so it's kind of because they could pass the test. But no, I definitely agree. You have to, you know, I kind of have always felt like someone doing service and inspections, it's more of a mindset. Like, because you can have people that know the codes and stuff and are horrible at inspections and service, and, you know, where they're, or vice versa, somebody that's really good at inspections that won't do good at service. But, you got to be able to think through things and see how somebody. I've tried it, companies I've worked at before, tried hiring guys, and some of them, and that are smart guys, but they just when you put them out in the field to do service or something, their brain goes away. They need a blueprint to follow, kind of thing. And if they don't have that blueprint, then they'll just kind of do their own.
Yeah, in the chat is
Yeah, when they do
popping
their
off.
own, do they sometimes do things that you wish they didn't, or do it wrong, or
Yeah. Well, you find. I mean, I found guys that like sometimes there's you can't do something right for whatever reason. Sometimes like I had a facility that there to do a 5 year on the standpipe. There was no way to really, because the standpipe was inside and the stairs were so tight, you couldn't flow the top level because it didn't go through the roof or anything. It was, and without like cutting a hole in the wall or something. And I tried suggesting it to the fire marshal in the first place, my idea, and he's like, nope, nope, we got to flow it from there. We got to run down the stairs. So I ran the hose down the stairs, and we turned it on, and it's just a little dribble.
Oh,
He's like, what was your idea?
oh,
yeah.
And I was like, well, my idea was putting a gauge on the top floor and flowing the bottom, and it's going to be at least, it's going to be the best we can get, kind of thing. And so we did it. But I've had a guy that saw that, and then the next time he's like, oh, we'll just do it this way because it's easier. And it's like, no, you
No.
do it like, it's not we're doing it the easiest way. We're doing it the best we can with the situation we have.
Right.
And so, like,
I've been there.
yeah, yeah. There's always
Yeah,
you can't. Sometimes you can't do it 100%, but you do what you can. But
I was down in Atlanta, and there was a test header that was out the side of the building, and then I don't know, like 2 feet out was another building. Oh, maybe let's see. I was able to turn sideways, so I guess it was like 4 feet between the two buildings.
What up, Chad?
And I have this test header, and I can only fit. I can when I was testing it, I had two play pipes just
yeah,
shooting, right out there connected, and then I ran two hoses because I had to, and I was like, even the other inspector that was there is like, "Is this how it work?" I was like, "I don't know. This is what we're doing.
I don't know.
You know,
yeah,
we'll figure it
The
out."
fire hoses inside the
yeah.
building
Sometimes
always
you,
make me nervous.
yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of water.
yeah, and that's like sometimes, yeah, you try something and see if it works. See if you get the results you're looking for, and if not, then you come up with another solution. But yeah, a lot of times, yeah, you get those things. Um,
It doesn't
So
need to be
who
nice.
brought you into fire protection?
Um, so my ex father-in-law actually, I was I was in a job like where I was at the time. I was in a small town and making decent money for where I was at, but really I was 23 and just kind of looked and realized that I didn't have any in the company. There was nowhere I could go that was up without like 20 years going. Just in the fact that I was like kind of at the highest level I could be without being a manager or something, and the people that were ahead of me. And so, and it didn't really have, I mean, insurance and retirement were really, they were nothing. And so I had actually asked my wife at the time her and her dad were going bear hunting. And I asked her to find it.
Whoa.
I asked her to find out, it's like, hey, what, find out. Like, I know he makes good money. Just ask him what it takes. And before she got a chance, he brought it up. And it was in the 90s when things were so busy. But he asked if I was interested. So that's how I started.
That's it. Got taken in.
What was your first job? You were like an apprentice in new construction or service?
I was in new construction. It was I don't know, Liberty Mutual Insurance. It was a high rise in downtown that I worked on. So I did.
How was that experience?
Well, so my my first day, it was my father-in-law at the time. He had marked out a 6x4 mechanical tee, like drilling a hole for a 4-inch mechanical tee and 6-inch, and he had it all marked out. And he's like, "Here's a drill. There's the hole. Go cut it, and I'll be back." and he's like, "Don't break my drill, and don't get hurt." And so he kind of threw me to the wolves there. And then after that,
You break the drill and get hurt.
yeah, he's like he more cared more about the drill than me, but And then
Yeah.
we were working on like the 15th floor, 13th floor or something, and the man lift was broken, and so that the rest of the day was spent taking material out of the basement and climbing up the stairs. And
Oh, dude, I've been there. I had to
I've
transport pipe.
uh,
Oh man, and it was uh one of the stairwells where it's like this. So
yeah,
I had to get the pipe, turn it, and then
yeah,
oh,
that was the only day that I've ever like passed out in the car going home as an apprentice.
yeah. The
I
guy,
was gone. I was exhausted.
the so my father-in-law was running the job. He was the main foreman, but the foreman I was working with on the floor, he's just like, look, here's the whole list of stuff. He goes, you can carry as little or as much as you want at a time. Just it's like one way you're carrying a lot of weight, the other way you're making more trips. It's like figure it out. And yeah, it was not a fun day, but definitely I really enjoy being an apprentice. Honestly, I liked the being organized and trying to figure out like that, trying to stay ahead of the foreman, trying to make sure you were one step ahead of them. And like when we were working in warehouses and you hear the scissor lift coming down, trying to anticipate what they were coming down
what's he
for, that
coming
kind of
down
thing.
for? Shit,
Uh,
you just like grab a bunch of stuff.
Definitely.
Trying to,
that's something, it's like, okay, I know he
hey,
was getting low on rod,
hanger, pipe, coupling,
uh,
shit. Get one of each. I like the beginning,
but
the
I
apprentice days where you're an apprentice, so you could like, hey, I don't know, or you could like fuck something up, like, I don't know, you didn't teach me. I'm still learning. I'm
yeah,
still learning. I
Yeah.
miss being able to say that.
not having a pager and all the headache that goes with all of that. But yeah, and when I was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in, when I first started working um, with our service guys, they very quickly, once they figured out, they would pretty much refuse to work with any of the other apprentices unless they couldn't get me, because they figured out that I was like a lot of the apprentices, I guess, would go and just kind of think of it as a vacation day. It's like because they'd hear service doesn't do anything, and so they'd just, you know, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn why they were doing stuff and try to help figure out what was going on, and so they started just requesting me for everything. So which I loved. It got me a lot of experience in different facilities and whatnot.
I had that same mentality
How was
and
your
just always
experience
say
going from an
yes.
apprentice to a fitter? How long did it take you, and what was that process to bump you up?
So as far as that, I the union apprenticeship, so 5 years. But
Yeah.
actually did back then. Things were really busy, and it wasn't uncommon. So I was in a service truck before I turned out, because things were so busy and people, because back then there wasn't anybody out of work. So it was like a little over 4.5 years, 4.5 years. And then I had a service truck, and I've basically I have been in service ever since then.
I tried to get a truck as fast as possible. So I was able to get a truck. That truck sucked. It was like a mini Ford Ranger, and then the seat was broken, so it stabbed you in the back. And my job was only to do backflows until I got my level 2 NICEP for sprinkler inspections. And man, it sucked. I hated it, but I got a truck, so I wasn't driving my car.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's definitely it's. Oh, one of the things I always said was I never minded being stuck in traffic in a company vehicle near as much as being in your own vehicle. No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, even I don't know. It's just like it's not as bad. It's like, I mean, yeah, you still don't want to be, but in your own car, it's like, thinking about the gas.
I never thought of that. I'm pissed when I'm in traffic regardless.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, but it was definitely, that's actually the thing I miss about COVID the most, was
No
traffic
traffic.
was a breeze.
No, it
Oh,
was
that's the
nothing, man.
best.
Just fly.
Parking was great. Yeah, you could
The
always park.
smog in California went away.
Yeah,
Daryl says Brian is still waiting for his truck. Oh, Daryl's good. NFPA 25 says if you can't, what's he? Oh, how do you guys perform a 5-year standpipe flow if you don't have roof access? NFPA 25 says you can flow from the most remote. You need to ask the AHJ. Guys got some good questions. Wait, another question. Can you explain the no retroactivity clause in the NFPA 25 and its implications for older systems? Damn, Flo.
Well,
What the
hold
hell?
on.
We gotta get our NFPA link back. Can you explain the no
Yeah.
retroactivity
Oh
clause in
man,
NFPA
I only have
25
a.
and its implications for older systems? I can't. I don't know if one of you guys can.
All right, hold
Are
on,
they
hold on.
talking? Because most changes in 25, I think what they're talking about is most changes in 25 are not retroactive. So they only technically, like if you have a building that doesn't have testing that's up to 25 standards, then you go by with when it was installed. But there are some codes that are retroactive. Like one of them is that nobody ever follows is all the signs. Like you're supposed to have, like if there's a remote dry system or a remote antifreeze system, there's supposed to be a sign at the main riser.
Hmm.
But and that one's the retroactive code. So if you come into a building that has them, you're supposed to write it up as a code violation.
In Boston, they would
But that's
always they would always hold us to the new standard. So we did a
yeah. Well, and see, and that's the depend. It depends on the AHJ because there are some AHJs, um, like Portland itself, always is like 12 years behind, and their excuse is they what they've said is they won't enforce anything new until they've trained all their inspectors, and they don't train their inspectors very often apparently. But you can always, if you can show them in the new code, like if you show it to them and show them why, they'll almost always go along with it. Um, but then most of the surrounding areas are like, yeah, the minute it's adopted, that's what we go by. So it depends on the area, and then a lot of the small towns they don't even want you once pretty much.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
times in the small towns they're like,
Yeah, BFD was very, very involved, and they would be at standpipe tests. They would bring a whole crew. They would be looking at gauges. They knew what they were looking for. They knew what they were looking at. They knew if you were trying to trick them, and it was like you had to have everything perfect. There was no getting anything over their head. And we did a retrofit. We added a 6-inch standpipe to the center of this building that was built in 1899, and it had a 1500 GPM electric pump, and it wouldn't put out to the new numbers, and they were trying to get us to do it, and we were trying everything in our power. There were so many elbows on that standpipe that I don't know, it was a failed mission before we started. You got
yeah,
Brian really looking, Flo. He's going to get his book. Chad's still here. What up, Chad? Yeah, so now I do work in the south, and I'm just expecting the fire marshal or whatever just to be wanting to look at everything, and it's honestly you could kind of get away with a handshake most times. Check a couple
yeah,
gauges, as long as you got all your right paperwork and you don't sound like an idiot. They're like, all right, you're good.
yeah. No, I've seen that. I've seen both extremes. I've some of them. Yeah, and one guy that he started out like acting really tough like that, and but then once you figured out that you knew what you were talking about, then they're just like basically like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, for
But
sure.
I told other ones that they were idiots, but
Yeah, how'd that go?
well, one time I thought it was funny. There was the lady, and it was a customer of ours that normally built new cut buildings, but they bought, I don't know, for some reason bought a older building, and I went through there, and I had like 4 legal pages and it wasn't a very big building. It was just like these little tenant spaces, and there were so many problems with it, and she had already done an inspection at the rest of the building, except for one space she couldn't get into because they kept playing the "oh, we forgot to leave the keys" game. And we went in there, and it had like, I don't know, it had one of those Rubbermaid little sheds inside the building that wasn't so. But she's like, "Oh, other than that, everything's fine, isn't it?" I'm like, no." She goes, "Oh, well, I normally just look at the tag, and if there's a tag there, then I figure it's good." And I was like, "The tag," and Oregon doesn't have any color coding on Oregon and Washington both don't color code tags, so it's just an inspection tag that says it was inspected. I'm like, if you're not looking at the report, like
Yeah,
a tag doesn't mean anything really. Like
could be
it
good, could be
just means
bad.
somebody put it in. Yeah. And I had another time where I went to do it was another building there's another fitter in our company had done the work, and it was just a cover inspection for one area, and it was when so it was back in the late '90s when the economy or took it down, and they or 2008 I guess. So they building inspectors took over fire inspections from fire marshals because they were trying to justify their pay because fire departments paid for it regardless, and building inspection goes off the inspection. So they took the fire inspections, but they were anal about what they wanted, but they didn't know what they like. And there was this whole section where all the it was dry system and all the heads were coming off the lines wrong, and he didn't catch that. But then in an area we weren't even going for cover, he was arguing with me because there was a change in direction, and the fitter put a four-way brace on it, but the plan only had a two-way brace on it, and he was telling me, you need to change that. Like, it shows a two-way there, you need to make that a two-way. And I'm like, it's better than what's in. And it was like going back and forth with him. I'm like, I'm not making it less than code just because of that. Like, and finally I was like, well, whoever approved those drawings, which I knew it was him, whoever approves those drawings didn't know what you're talking about. Like, if they need to resubmit the drawings, that's fine, but I'm not gonna like make it a worse, take a brace out because it wasn't shown on the print properly.
Yeah, like it's holding it better. It's holding it more.
Yeah, it's better. Like, it's better than what is there. Like, I he was like fixated. I'm like, you should always be okay with better.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, better is good.
Did you find anything, Bry?
Yeah, I mean, y'all, he's pretty much nailed it. So it's to limit the scope of ITM requirements to the operational condition of the existing system, not to require that they be brought up to the current design or installation standards.
So you just got to test it
Yeah,
with
so
whatever they were
there's a few.
following.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few separate ones that will say like this is a retroactive code or something like that, but a retroactive requirement. But if it doesn't say that specifically, then it's really up to the HJ.
Which is, it's crazy that the AHJs are suggesting things.
Yeah,
I mean, from my experience, their knowledge is not, like super up to speed.
yeah. We had one
Typically.
long ago when I first got in. He was really smart, and it was back when we were doing residential, like apartment, high rises. And at the time, anyway, heads weren't required in the bathroom, but they were required in the closets. And his thing was like, I think he goes, nobody's going to be in the closet when there's a fire. It's like, the fires are going to start in the bathroom. So he goes, I want a head in the bathroom. If that means that you guys need to leave one out of the closet to make your numbers, he goes, I'd rather see them both places, but he goes, I'll trade you, like, because I want one in the bathroom. And I was like, that I was smart. Like, I was, he was really smart about it.
Yeah, because especially in freaking college dorms, those women, they love their candles. And I took care of college here, and like every fire, I think I was there for like, I don't know, maybe a month, and there was two fires. Both of them was chicks with freaking candles.
Yeah.
Just, the ambiance of their
Well,
bathtub
it's
going up in
candle.
flames.
It's hairspray on everything, and then leaving a curling iron or something. I mean, they get that residue. But yeah, curling irons, blow dryers, and candles all put together, and yeah, there's a lot more going to be starting in a bathroom than.
Candles are
anything.
candles
Yeah,
are bad now.
electrical
There's like
issues.
there's a lot of stuff coming about candles and the fragrances and what it does to the air in your home. Do not burn candles. Do not use Glade plugins. You do not want fragrance in your house. That's a Bobby
Yeah.
rant. That's a little Bobby rant for you. Candles are like the worst thing you could ever put in your house. Do not allow it. You see your wife with it?
Well, I mean,
Throw it
it's the
away.
microtoxins,
Yeah,
you know?
it's the fragrance. You don't need the artificial fragrance. Who's it for?
Yeah.
You know? I don't want
Yeah,
it.
you get the
Yeah,
natural. Yeah, you get natural ones or something. It's one thing, but yeah, all the artificial stuff is
Yeah, the
just.
artificial stuff's bad. It's getting out of hand.
they make the air purifying lamps. Like you burn this wick with the oil for about a minute or so, and then you put it out,
Damn.
and it's supposed to purify the air and all that stuff. They're pretty slick.
We ended up with HEPAs after the pandemic. I like those things. Little HEPA filter,
Yeah,
filter out the air.
yeah, we have. Yeah, we have one of those.
Boom. Damn, that was 50 minutes. That went by quick. Shit, these go by quick every time.
Holy crap! Seriously?
Yeah.
I
Hey
just looked.
Josh, can we schedule another time for you to come on? I feel like we have so much to talk about.
Yeah,
Let's say,
Awesome. Let's get him a date.
yeah, we everybody that tuned in tonight, really appreciate you guys. I know Thursday is our normal day. Tuesday's our
Do we
makeup
have a
day.
Thursday?
I thought we did. I don't know. I don't know if I was supposed to write it down or you were supposed to write it down, but it's not written down. But I think we got somebody.
Normally I don't do them, but no, we're going to start.
You've been
Both
at
of us are going to start
well.
doing it
Once
because
once we
that's
get to
how we should be doing it.
opentape.com, it'll be right on the.
Yeah,
Can we just text the dates to
right
the
on
to
there.
the website manager? You can add them to the calendar.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah,
yeah.
dude.
She's working 4 hours a week. Whatever we want
Fuck
her to
yeah.
do.
Watch your IG story, so I'm dropping in to say, "Yo, Bobby, yo, what up?" Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. You almost missed it. We're right here at the end.
Can you come on Thursday, Josh?
um,
Is that possible? You kind of
possibly.
keep the episodes together.
Back
Yeah,
to back.
You want to get back to me? Check your schedule and stuff.
What's up, Garrick? Yeah, maybe we'll come up with a topic. Maybe you guys fire off some topics, or if you guys want to go in the Discord after and fire off some topics, maybe we can like nail down some topic for like a half an hour.
yeah.
But I definitely want to hear more about your story.
Okay.
I like how that's something that we've done since the beginning too, is ask people how they've gotten into the industry. Like how did you find fire protection? I think that out of 176 episodes,
Everybody
there was
brings them
like
in. I just yeah,
there was two people
two.
that like there wasn't their uncle or their dad or their ex. It was they were like one kid was like, oh, I found it on Craigslist. I was just searching for a job on Craigslist, and like some people just there's like it's very
Wasn't
rare that
there?
you
There was
stumble
two
on it.
Craigslist guys.
Yeah, I think they were both
I got
Craigslist.
I got one guy in that he was I did a pump run every week, every Wednesday for 11 years, and he was one of the security officers, and I'd have to deal with them every time. And I just got to talking to him and was, like started, because he's I think he's got 5 kids now, but anyway, I said like, why don't you do something different? He was young enough at the time, and he worked for me at the last company I was at, but he's still there, but.
Nice, changing
Do
people's
you have
lives.
before we close this out? Do you have a blowout story
A
or a
blowout?
flood?
Any good flood
Um,
stories?
well, I do. I wasn't. It wasn't my blood, but
Let's make that clear.
so yeah, I was there to I got there to clean it up. Um, so it was Horizon Air, which is I don't know if you know Horizon Air, but they also operate Alaska Air and Southwest. They provide all the pilots and stewardesses and stuff, and so their headquarters is in Portland at the airport, and that's also their training where they train the. They actually got a really cool. They seeing their simulators and stuff, but when we were doing that, so they had three 4,500 GPM pumps run in series, and so
Damn.
they're actually supposed to be. So they're designed to have two at a time, and the third one's a backup. And
Yeah.
on a side,
Wow.
from testing them, each one of them was capable of about 9,500 GPM. So, and I forget
Damn.
there was 8 backflows because they didn't the way that there wasn't backflows that would handle the GPM. So it was like I think it was a 24-inch main coming in, and then 8 backflows
Jeez.
coming off of it. So it was and actually as a side note, when we were testing it, the water because we had to do a flow test because it's these big deluge systems. When we did a flow test at the end of the job, the water department was there screaming at us to shut the water off because like 10, 15 miles away, where we were dropping water pressures enough where they thought the pipes were going to collapse. So,
Oh my god.
uh, but he was also not very smart, because he wanted us just to shut the water off instantly, and we'll shut it off, but we're gonna start slowly bringing it down. But anyway, when the pumps first got put on, or when the water first got turned onto the manifold, and the manifold had six 8-inch foam systems, and then like a couple wet systems and stuff, and a smaller foam system, and
Massive.
it was 14-inch. Well, the company I work for, they use thin wall, which I still don't necessarily agree with, but they would make their own welded caps. And so they just thought, well, we make our own caps. So they made caps for this. Well, as soon as the water started to get turned on the first time, the caps, because they used the same thickness of steel, whatever it was they used on like the 2-inch caps, they used the same stuff. Well, now it's a great big surface. So it just started bowing out. Well, it's like, oh, well, that won't work. So they welded thicker steel caps. But I don't know if you've ever looked at the large caps, they're not flat. They're dome shaped.
They're concave, yeah.
Yeah, and it has to it's so that the pressure is spread out, not just on that flat surface. So when it got put up to pressure, the you could actually see where the whole riser jumped up, like, but the cap blew off, like the VIX actually peeled off the pipe, and the whole manifold, it was you bolted down, and it shifted over like a foot and a half, and there's this huge area. I mean, I don't even know how many. I mean, it probably 500,000 square foot warehouse.
Yeah.
The next day, water was still coming out of the walls and squeegeeing, and so we had to go through, because they also, the other thing they figured out was the VIX. They make a 4-piece VIC for that stuff, and they were just using the 2-piece VIC, so we had to replace all. And every one that got replaced, you could actually see where pipe was peeling, like all of the VICs had been peeling pipe off, like little pieces of the pipe were peeling.
Wow.
That's probably my best blow.
That's a lot of water, it sounds like.
I don't even know how much water it was. It was a lot. I was an apprentice at the time, and it was yeah.
Sounds like
We
100,000 gallons.
Probably. We spent several days squeegeeing. And that was after most of it ran outside. When we tested it, so we actually had to do a foam flow test, and that was so we took and plugged on, or took all the, because it's all open heads, but so it's all open head deluge instead of the generators or anything. It's all open head, and we had to, all the ones by the walls we had to put chute on and then float it. And there's these there's two 24-inch drains in the hangar, and they normally go to storm sewer. But when the fire system triggers, there's a valve that trips and it closes it off, and it drops it to the sanitary sewer, to like 6-inch line going to the sanitary sewer. But then the whole parking lot is graded to act as a holding area for the foam, so it fills up the parking lot, and then as the sanitary can do it, it brings it down. Well, it also has this anti-foam that supposed to spray on it, but during the test they didn't want to use very much of it, because back then it was $150 a gallon. So they had me on a little toggle switch. They're just like, okay, turn it on, okay, turn it off, okay, turn it on. Well, when we went outside, there was foam shooting out of the roof scuppers on the top of the building. There was foam, and then there's like, he saw there's a man shooting like 20 feet in the air, and he grabs a pallet and throws this pallet on top of this, and then and so all it does is it just starts climbing, and it's about 20 feet, and then there was just foam everywhere. And like a week later, there was still these foam tumbleweeds, like a couple miles away, that would be, the wind would blow, and they were like tumbleweeds, but big foam chunks.
I love that. That's a great story. I have one foam experience, and the same
That
thing.
is a great story.
The little hole in the center of the manhole cover, just shooting foam out on the ground level. Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, and now we know that foam is cancer causing.
Yeah, PFSA is great. We've all been playing in it for years.
Yeah, I know. Wait, yeah, we used to. I mean, like that place. Forget what the size the. It's got these two big bladder tanks with bladders in it, and one of the bladders went bad, and we had to replace it. And yeah, we're just
You're
you
in it.
use foam. Yeah,
Yeah.
you use foam as a lubricant, and so it's like, yeah,
It's
it's
in
just covered in
it's
it.
in your eyes. Getting those bladders out is no easy feat. Ugh.
That one, because I've done that one because they were vertical tanks. It was great. We had to get like come alongs up on the roof and pull them out, and
Yank
then
it right
pull
out. Yeah,
back in.
usually you got to pull it out on the side, and the come along's getting all jammed. I see guys using trucks. They yank it out with a truck.
Yep, yep.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, that was a great closing story. I like that.
That was awesome.
Too better than freaking-
Yeah, check your schedule. Let us know about Thursday.
Sounds good.
I don't think we have
I don't think we have
anybody
anybody.
for Thursday, so if you can come on, that'll be awesome to keep these two episodes together.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome, man.
Sounds good.
Really appreciate your time.